Hello and welcome to Insider Shot. So today we are going to review IDFC First Bank. So there has been a lot of speculation and a lot of noise in the market about this being the next multi-bagger. That IDFC First Bank is the next HDFC Bank and this will be the next big thing in Indian financial industry and the share will be the multi-bagger. So in this video, we'll talk about IDFC First Bank and we'll see and review the bank financials and we'll try to figure out if this will be the next multi-bagger or not. Okay. So let's first talk about a bit about IDFC First Bank, how it came into existence. So IDFC First Bank was earlier IDFC Bank and it got merged with Capital First in December 2018, through which it became an IDFC First Bank. So Capital First was a non-banking financial company mainly involved in small ticket loans and consumer durable, while IDFC was involved in mostly in wholesale loans and infrastructure financing. So these were two different organizations which came together to become a bank. IDFC was already a bank, and with its merger with Capital First, it got a very good, you can say, a retail customer base which Capital First had. So now we'll start looking at the quarterly results of IDFC First Bank. This was the period around which IDFC First Bank came into existence after the merger. So what I have derived from the quarterly result here is that the bank has not been able to generate any profit from its financing activity. The main activity of a bank is financing, giving out loans. And as you can see, the financing profit here, after the merger from December, you can see from the March quarter, the bank has not been able to become profitable from giving out loans. Okay, so the bank became net profitable from last year March 2020 quarter, where it posted 72 crores and the profit has been growing steadily after that, the net profit. But the financing profit, the core business of a bank, which is giving out loan and earn interest on giving out the loans, the bank has not been able to generate profit on that. You can see for every quarter from December 2018 after the merger, the bank has been in negative in financing profit. The bank has been able to be net profitable because of other incomes, which is trading gains, treasury, sale of other assets. A lot of things come under other incomes. So one needs to see the annual or quarterly report, the notes in that to see you can see the different sources of other income, but that has been increasing from December 2018. You can see every quarterly basis from if we see from when the bank has become net profitable quarterly wise from last year, every quarter except the September quarter, the other income has been growing. And if we take the latest quarter, the other income was the highest, and you can see the loss in financing profit was the highest since last March. So this can also be a negative effect of COVID, but this will have an impact on bank in the future. And the bank was able to generate profit before tax of 43 crores only this quarter, which is less than the last 4 quarters which bank has been profitable, for which bank has been profitable. So they can mostly, the effect of the financing profit being low is the effect of COVID due to the restructuring and a lot of loans being not paid. So we'll see ahead as well. So this is annual profit and loss for last 6 years. Like as we can see, like in December when the bank merged, so bank has after it has become IDFC First, the bank made losses for 2 straight years. The bank was not able to generate profit, but this year bank generated a profit of 452 crores on an annual basis. But I would also like to add the last 2 years, whatever loss the bank was having according to the current management of IDFC First Bank, was due to the cleaning up of their loan book. The wholesale they had, IDFC before the merger had a huge wholesale and infrastructure loan book. The wholesale loan book is big ticket loans to mainly corporates and big individuals. You can say a loan of, suppose a ticket size of 100 crore will be given to a corporate or a big businessman. So the wholesale loan category is more riskier because one default takes a toll on the whole amount of loan given. So the bank had a 5 year journey. The bank set up a 5 year journey when they merged, and the management, and they have been able to deliver on that. We'll see that 5 year journey as well ahead in other slides. But the key point on the annual report is that the bank has been able to come into the green in the profit area from loss making, and this will be a good sign going ahead because this shows that the management is able to deliver what they have promised. Okay, so this is the key metrics which the bank, this is the management, that is the CEO and MD V Vaidyanathan, proposed at the time of merger. We can see they have clearly outperformed in the CASA deposit. The CASA deposit has grown exponentially. See, CASA deposit was the growth reason for CASA deposit would also have been the 7% interest rate which they were providing, but they have grown exponentially in CASA. Okay, now as a percentage, you can see CASA as percentage of deposit. They had a target of 30% in financial year of 24 and 50% thereafter. But in this financial year only they have achieved the target, which is way ahead of the time. So this shows that the general population is trusting the bank with their money. So CASA deposit is also considered as the lowest, cheapest cost of cheapest fund that a bank can avail, and the bank has been able to deliver on that growth. So on other, you can see there are other guidances, which these are all the guidances which the bank had given during the merger about the branches, number of branches, customer deposit which is less than 5 crores or equal to 5 crores, that is 82%. So what happens if there are less depositors with bank balance less than 5 crores is that someday if a single account holder, big account holder, decides to close or withdraw all the money, it hampers the bank CASA deposit negatively. But what has happened here is the customer deposit, if there are low ticket size customer deposit, it doesn't impact the, you can say, CASA ratio of the company, and they have achieved the 24-25 target in this year as well. So this is a good. So top 20 depositor concentration is the same thing, that few people hold the CASA deposit which they have, which is risky for the bank. So you can see at merger it was high as 40%, and they have reduced it to 8%, and they have further guidance to reduce it 5 or below 5%. So which is a very good that they are on track. On the liability side, they have been on track and have been ahead of whatever they have promised. So this is a good sign for the future of the bank, that the management has been able to deliver on what they have promised ahead of time. Okay. So now this is on the asset side, that is the loan which they gave out. So the retail funded asset. So the bank has moved from wholesale to retail funding. So the biggest benefit of a retail funding from a wholesale funding is that retail has small ticket sizes and good payment. Retail assets are considered safe as considered to wholesale because their ticket size is small and they are good at paying back. So the bank has been able to grow. They promised 1 lakh crore rupees deposit, sorry, 1 lakh crore rupees loan book of just retail funded asset, and they have been able to reach 73,000 crores from 36. A good they have doubled it after the merger, the retail funding. So, which is also good because all the big banks, Kotak Mahindra Bank, ICICI, and HDFC, have built their base from the retail assets. They have not ventured into wholesale that much as they have into retail funding. So, now we will talk about the wholesale funded asset, which the management said they are going to reduce the risky part of loan, the risky loan book, which is wholesale funded. It is considered very risky as compared to retail. So they have reduced it from 56,800 crores to 33,900 crore, around 23,000 crores. And they had a guidance of less than 40,000 crore. But what I have learned from the recent management interviews is they are going to bring this down lower even more. They want the wholesale funded asset to be the minimum side and retail on the highest side. Same goes with infrastructure loan for which IDFC was well known for. IDFC stands for Infrastructure Development Corporation. So this was the biggest drag. You can say that this was the biggest drag on their loan book. They were not getting back the amount which they had extended, and the bank wants to reduce it to zero. They don't want any exposure to infrastructure loan. So on the retail side, you can say the bank is growing, and on the funding side, the bank has become strong, and the bank is now working towards developing its assets, that is the loan book, on a more strengthened side. So this is a good sign. There are no negative signs on the asset side as well. So now on the earnings, the net interest margin. The net interest margin is the biggest indicator for a well-being and profitability of a bank which has been growing slowly and steadily. The net interest margin, for the viewers who don't know, is the margin between the cost of fund for the bank and the cost at which they are extending the loan, the interest which they are earning. So currently it stands closely around 5%, and the management has a guidance of 5 to 5.5%. So you can see they are way ahead of time in this one as well. But they still need to work on these two, the return on asset and return on equity. So according to me, as the retail funded asset starts to grow again, the wholesale assets come down, this will immediately start to increase, and there is no like negative indication on return on asset and return on equity right now. So these are on safe parameters right now. So on this screen you can see the bank has delivered on what they've guided. The CASA deposit has grown 122%. So this is a very big step on bank, because this is the cheapest type of fund which a bank can raise. Okay, so average CASA ratio on daily CASA balances. So like a bank calculates what balance it has in its current and saving account on daily basis. So that has also grown 50%. Okay, and after the merger, the CASA ratio, you can see the CASA ratio. CASA ratio is simply the ratio of funds generated through current account, saving account, compared to bonds and debentures and any other fundraising which the bank has done. So on all these parameters, the bank has been growing very well and is way ahead of its 24-25 scheduled whatever targets they had. So this is the net interest margin ratio quarterly wise. So every quarter the NIM, the net interest margin, has been growing steadily. They have reached whatever they were expecting, around 5 to 5.5%, and I expect this to continue as the bank has reduced the interest rate which they give on saving account from 7% to 5%. So this will benefit the net interest margin very well, and this 5 they will stay above 5%. Okay, so on this slide, I have also given the stressed assets. So now we have talked about the advantages, the green part, the pros of the bank. Now we'll just look at the cons and the negative side of the bank. So there are several, you can see several projects to which the bank has earlier lended and who are now considered stressed and they have been defaulting. And the PCR is the provision coverage ratio. So the bank has made provisions for different stressed accounts. So like you can see, this is 873 crore rupees loan. And the bank has made a provision of 154 crore rupees. Similarly, a 534 crore rupees loan and 534 crore rupees provision. So it is 100% provided for. So provision comes from the earlier profits which the bank has made. So here one thing I would like to tell that since there is a 100% provision on this loan, the bank has nothing to lose now on this. So this will not result in bank making losses. The bank will make losses in this account which there the provision is not 100%. You can see there are few accounts where the provision is 18%, 5%, 25%. So bank is taking a bit of exposure on this. So the total amount which the bank has asserted is 2,264 crore. That is 2,264 crore that is stressed, that which the bank can lose. And the bank has made a provision of just 48% in this. So if all the accounts end up not paying the money, the bank will have a substantial loss which can impact its future profitability and its future stock price. But we can also see a good side of provisioning. Suppose if any of you can see the 100% provision which has been made for 534 crore. If this project pays back the whole amount, this provision will be reversed and added to the future profit of the bank. So there is a bit of exposure, there is a bit of risk on the stressed account, but if these accounts pay back, whatever provisions that have been made will be reversed back and added to the net profit. So now we'll just give a brief about the product structure of the bank. So what differentiates this bank from other bank is their micro enterprises loan, their loan for women, and their consumer durable loan network. The IDFC First Bank has a very good consumer durable loan network because of Capital First, because they were into consumer durable, and this has helped them increase their retail funding of assets. And the micro enterprise loan, Capital First was also famous for giving small ticket size loan to small businessmen who needed loan in the ticket size of 20,000 to 1 lakh rupees. So they disbursed a lot of loan amounting the difference between 20,000 to 1 lakh rupees. So this is their strong side. The consumer durable and micro enterprise loan, they have a very strong side, and this will help the bank to grow their retail funding, and this will help it to drive the profitability. And this is a very good business structure, and IDFC First is very good in this. So now we'll just give you a brief review about the management team, the head of the management, V. Vaidyanathan, and he has been very spoken about the transparency, and he has been talking about the bank, the negatives and the positive of the bank in the recent interviews as well. So he has a very rich past in banking. He was associated with ICICI, and he started Capital First, brought it profitable, and then merged it with IDFC First Bank. So he has been very clear about the future of the bank. The management does not want to go into brokerage or insurance for as it is right now. They want to focus on banking, and the management is very focused. So if we talk about being a multi-bagger, this stock has the potential to be the multi-bagger, but at this point to call this an outright multi-bagger is not right. The bank will have to give a good performance for the next few quarters to be considered being a next multi-bagger. And for everyone calling this the next HDFC Bank, this cannot be the next HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank has a different business model, has a different cost structure for its fund, and it has a different position compared to IDFC Bank. But whatever you can see from the management interviews and the recent performance of the bank, it is poised to become one of the biggest banking institutions in the country. So after all the fundamental management reviews, we'll also do a bit of technical analysis of the stock. So here we have IDFC First Bank on a daily time frame. So we'll just be reviewing and looking at the technical chart post merger. So the post merger, or after the announcement of the merger, the stock did shoot up, but then again it came down, and you can see from May to March last year the stock was in a range of 46 to 40 rupees, a very narrow range. And post the COVID fall, it did correct almost more than 100%, I can say. From 40 it came down to 17-18 rupees, but after that the stock has been performing well. It gave a double bottom breakout. Double bottom is a very highly bullish indicator. The stock gave a double bottom breakout and has been performing since then. So the high of the double bottom breakout has acted as a support, and you can see since starting of the January this year the stock doubled in its price. The price, which was around 33 on 21st of December, went up to 69 on around 5th of March, and then again the stock has corrected a bit due to the market correction. The stocks do fluctuate, but right now, considering the last year's earning, the stock has a very high PE ratio of 74. So investing in this for a short term, considering this as a multi-bagger, will not be a right decision to make right now. For me to invest right now in the stock, I would like it to come around its earlier, you can say, resistance point of 45 to 46. This will be the zone I'll be adding. And if the stock also, you can say, breaks down below this zone, this will be my last zone to add around 38, 39. If I am going for a long-term investment, or if I am a short-term investor, this will be my stop loss. So currently, whatever we are seeing in IDFC First Bank being called a multi-bagger, it can be a potential multi-bagger in the future, but right now to keep it in a multi-bagger portfolio, or calling it a multi-bagger right now, will not be good advice, as the bank still has a lot of ground to cover and there are a lot of risks the bank has to face, and there have a lot of more risks have come up due to COVID. So right now I don't think that we can call this a multi-bagger bank, but yes, it has the future and a potential to become a multi-bagger. So thank you everyone for watching the video, and if you like this review, do like the video and subscribe our channel. We'll come out with more of these in the future.